Well, like, I'll take out this beginning of this. What's up, everybody? So yesterday's class was all about the back, specifically about finishing the rear naked choke. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about controlling the back position, maintaining the back position, and then maybe getting to a couple other submission options if the choke isn't presenting itself. I'll make sure to do it from a few different angles. We went no-gi. It's a little easier to see everything, I think, when it's no-gi. But let's do a quick review of what we talked about yesterday, and then we'll move on. So we talked about, I don't want to be real close to Shane here. I want to be just close enough to put in my hooks, but there should be a lot of space between me and him. And the reason is that's going to translate to space between his body and mine later. It's going to have my hips higher and my head and everything above his. So if you're sitting up, they should be reclining back on you. We talked about stab, grab, cuddle, and the positioning of the head and the arm. And we'll do this from another angle as well. We talked about when we come across, lining up the arm, coming in, squeezing to get the submission. We also talked about if we're in here and he starts to grab this arm right here, how we can come in and change the choke. So those are some of the things we did yesterday. If you need more detail on that, just rewind, go back to yesterday's video and you'll see that, and I'll link it in the description. But today I want to talk more about like if he starts the process of escaping. So there's a few things I want to show you with that. So we're going to go to, you're perfect right there. Remember that I talked about this arm being close to his head and my ear being close to his. So here, his head should feel like it's in a box. Typically, for him to escape, he wants to take his back to the ground and start to get out, right? And look where his head needs to go. It needs to go toward the ground. It needs to get out of there. So let's turn 45 degrees. Good. So if I keep my head here, Shane, go ahead and do that same escape. Look, I'll even let go. Much harder, right?
Yep.
Now, of course, I wouldn't want him to go that far, and I have some other options that we're going to do in later classes to help us maintain him if he does get his hips that turn. But the fact that his head was stuck in that box makes it really, really, really hard for him to escape the way he wants to. Did you feel that? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing to think about. The second thing is for him to do that, just pretend that I'm on your back and do that same motion again. As he goes, look, he's going to turn, and look where his head has to go. He has to look at the sky. So if I don't allow him to look at the sky, it's even harder for him to do this. So let's go back again. And this is going to be uncomfortable for Shane, but that's okay. So as he starts to go, I can just drive his head. See, look, I'm driving his face toward the ground. Shane, actually, look, I'll just do this. Shane, do the escape. And that's without any control, right? That's just me pushing. He can't turn his body opposite of where his head's looking. So that's going to be a great thing we can do to start the process of maintaining the position. So I'm on his back. I feel him start to escape. Drive his head toward the ground. Now look, I can release my top hook, lift, release the bottom, and just turn him over. Boom. Putting his head in the ground. Now we're in a good spot. Let's do that from a different angle. I'm going to turn slightly this way because I want to be facing you at the end of this. And we'll turn a little bit more. Perfect. You okay with this?
Yep.
All right. So it's uncomfortable for Shane, but boom, drive through, come over, and now we're on the back right here with his face turned. At this point, guys, he's in trouble. Prop the elbow, start coming underneath, and we're under the neck to start the process of choking. So that's an important concept, is the way the head looks is the way the body needs to turn. You see this all the time in fighting, like UFC and all that. Guys aren't on the back just being nice. They're giving gentle persuasion as to where the person will go. That's why you don't see a lot of this escape in MMA, because it's not the person doesn't want to, it's that the person gets driven over and they don't have any choice but to belly up. You ever notice that? That's why you see so much bellying, like going to the belly in MMA. And then they have to try to build their house. And that's why the rear naked choke reigns supreme in MMA. Because once you start adding those punches, it's really hard to get out of those situations. Not impossible, of course, people do it all the time, but it's by far, I think like 50% of submissions or 60 are rear naked choke. This is why. All right, so the other component to this that's important, and the other thing to know is how to finish the rear naked choke once we're there. There's a couple things we can do. Shane, I'm just gonna have you sit like this. Pretend that I'm on your back. Cool, and actually I'm gonna have you turn 90 degrees. Awesome, and then you fall to your side, so pretend I'm driving your face, fall to your side. Now, did you notice, actually let's come back up. My inside arm, the underhooked arm, grabbed his arm and pinned it as I pushed him across. The reason for that is, as we roll him over, and I start, go ahead and roll all the way to your belly, and I start to apply all my pressure to his back, his arm gets stuck under here. Let's do it from the other side. So if we were controlling this arm on this side, the far side from the camera, when he rolls over, boom, we're gonna end up right here with all, good and lay flat please, with all my weight pressuring down on him, pinning his arm. Then it's easy to pull out, and if you can imagine, I'm right here controlling, right? I would have been making him look this way. Boom, I can pull this arm out. He's gonna be behind the power curve because his weight's sitting on there. It's a little harder for him to pull it out, and now I'm under the neck immediately. So the issue becomes the reason that you miss a lot of your rear naked chokes and your chokes from the back is usually because you're too nice. And I was talking with Cole Miller, and then he also did a seminar on it when I was in Florida about this situation. And he said that anytime someone comes to him and says, hey, I'm having trouble getting the choke from the back, he knows exactly what it is. It's that they're being too nice, they're not driving the face, and they're not being rude about it. Another great way to put it was Mario Sperry. I was in a seminar with Mario Sperry, and he was talking about the rear naked choke. And his exact words were, when you turn their head to the point they think their neck's going to break, they'll lift their chin. And these are horrible things. This is not how you make friends in the training room. I understand it. But they're all true regardless. So there's certain tricks you can do for sure. But getting to the position of the choke isn't that hard if you're willing to be rude and put your partner in discomfort. So let's go back to the point where you're facing them. Scoot over just a smidge. So if we think about this here, think about how many times you're playing this game. Right? Like you're just trying to swim in there and see if you can beat his hands. Now, one, you should always keep your hands above theirs. If you follow that rule, you're always going to be able to choke, right? Because from this situation, how does he beat me to the neck? Ever. He might put his chin down, but then we just follow Mario Sperry's advice, right? You go ahead, tuck your chin. Boom, boom. He thinks his head's going to, oh, there we go. The chin came up. So we're good. So he's never going to beat you to the punch if you're above him, as far as his hands, if you imagine the level of his hands. Whereas if he gets on top of my hands, now he is winning that game. And that's why you're taught to come here, cascade, low 90, that kind of stuff, right? Let's look at one more option from here that I like. We're going to turn 90 degrees. Chances are good that because this top arm is the choking arm, he's going to fall toward the bottom arm, the weak side as we call it. Boom, because he wants to turn and get out. And he's moving away from the choke. So right now, if he gets turned, go ahead, turn, boom, this choke can no longer be effective on him, right? That's the reason people move that way. So what we're going to do as he starts to go that way is I'm going to put my head in. Now my top foot comes to his hip, and I'm in a gable grip right here. I'm going to release his arms for a second because I want to shuck him kind of up in this way. So my arms will pull this way as my foot pushes, and I bring my body underneath him a little bit. Boom. And I've got my leg now up across his belt. Let's move your arm. See how my leg is up across him? So as opposed to being down here, it's now biting across the stomach. So we're in a good situation now. Now, if he tries to turn, it's really weird. Like he's just sitting on top of me. It doesn't really get him out. Okay? Now I'm going to keep control of the arms. And if I can, things change up a little bit. He's used to me caring more about this arm. But now it's this top one that I want because I can stomp in it and control it, and now it's out of the way. All right, so let's turn 90. Turn this way. And let's go a little bit closer to the camera. That's good. Oh, our friends at home just see everything that's going on. So, see my top foot is on the hip, bottom foot here. Shane's having a bad day. All right, so instead of controlling this bottom arm, I could go 2 hands on the top one and I push it down. In the Gracie weak side back attack system, they call this the low 90 because it puts his arm at a low 90-degree angle. And now I step over and I put my foot right on that little, right where his elbow crease is. It's like a little step. Boom. And I bring the other one over. All right. Now I'm in a good spot. But you're going to notice, hey, Bill, you can't attack the neck this way. Yeah, I'm not worried as much about the neck as I am the arm. And now we're in a good spot to finish the arm bar. So let's look at that one more time, I guess. He starts to go that way. Boom, control, shuck. Get my positioning correct. 2-1-1, low 90. Get right here where I'm crossing the arms. Now I cross the face and we're in position. So this is another thing you can do from the back if you're having trouble controlling and getting the rear naked choke. You can either drive them belly down by driving their face, or you can take the weak side control and then finish with the arm bar. There's also like a triangle there. There's a lot of other finishes, but the arm bar is the most common. Any questions on that, Shane?
Nope, not yet.
Nothing yet?
Not yet.
All right. Well, guys, in the next video, what I'm going to talk about is kind of what if they're really strong, really active there, and they keep escaping. How can we maintain them and control the back position for a long period of time for them to wear out? Because I think that's sometimes the situation too. You get there, and then like they defend real hard for a second, and then they manage to get their hips free, and they're out. So in the next video, we're going to talk about that in something that I got from Jeff Curran. He calls it letting out the drag. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Shane. Thanks for being the partner. See you later.